the abandoned town in the American West was located a few hours from Los Angeles. Once upon a time, this town, full of coal and mine workers, was a gloomy but lively place of life. Echoes of laughter and conversation could be heard on the wide streets of the town as the workers passed by. However, years ago, the underground mines suffered a great collapse, and the town was suddenly abandoned. From that day on, the town fell silent. Now, there was only the howling of the wind and gloomy shadows among the abandoned buildings. The sound of raindrops falling on the walls only reminded the memory of the ghosts of the past. Outside the town, a tunnel through which an old railway passed was the townspeople's nightmare. This tunnel had been considered cursed by the townspeople in the past. In the past, the mine workers working here disappeared one by one, and none of those who returned from the tunnel survived. It was thought that something was harming the town behind these events. The surrounding townspeople did not dare to approach the entrance of the tunnel. They only told each other their fears fed by old legends. But these rumors spread through the town like some kind of black magic, and curious people flocked here to discover the tunnel's secret. A group of university students decided to come here to solve the town's secrets. Investigating the tunnel and the town's curse was what made them popular on the internet. The town had become famous not only for fear, but also for a kind of curiosity. In the dark of the night, in an environment where the rain was pouring and the wind was howling, they set out towards the old railway tunnel. A few of them were determined to solve the secret of this cursed place. The town, shrouded in night, whispered its depths to them mysteriously. The entrance to the tunnel was buried in one of the villages outside the town. In the deep darkness, only the dim light of the flashlights in their hands showed nothing but the silhouettes that separated them at one point. A gloomy coldness surrounded the air, and the air became heavier as the tunnel went deeper. As one of them went deeper into the tunnel, he felt the smell of the past from the cold surface of the stones. However, with each step he took into the depths of the tunnel, everything started to get stranger. When they entered the tunnel, the first thing they noticed was that the silence had become stifling and sticky. The humidity in the air, the smell of the stones, the gaps highlighted by the darkness. It all created the feeling that time had stopped. With each step, the sound of water dripping from the tunnel walls became more and more disturbing. As they go deeper into the tunnel, the silence becomes increasingly intense. At first, everything seems normal, but as they progress, they sense that something is wrong. The ground has become slippery, and moss has become evident on the walls of the tunnel. Many people notice the old structure of the tunnel, and that it has worn away over time. The density of the air increases, and breathing becomes difficult. Then, all of a sudden, they hear a humming sound coming from the tunnel. It echoes like a scream, but everything stops abruptly. At that moment, when they sense the presence of something deep inside, the air of the tunnel makes its coldness even more noticeable. A student drops a piece of stone on the wall. As the stone falls to the ground, the echo echoes through the tunnel and pierces the ears. The group looks at each other. They really feel like there is something inside this place. The darkness is gradually approaching them. Silence prevails for a few seconds. The light of the flashlights fades in the depths of the tunnel and is in danger of going out. As the darkness grows thicker, a friend's flashlight goes out completely. At that moment, they hear a scream. One of their friends behind them has disappeared. Panic begins. As they try to hear the voice of their lost friend, every corner of the tunnel leads them to an even more lost area. Exit. There is no exit from here, one says in fear. The tunnel has become like a labyrinth and their way back has disappeared. Panic spreads rapidly among the group members and they are buried in the darkness of the tunnel. The lanterns start to light up again, but their lights become shaky and weak. As everyone moves forward in panic to find their lost friends, the lights fade further and disappear. Now every corner has become darker and more frightening. For a moment, nothing is visible. With the lanterns in their hands, they can only see each other's silhouettes. Someone among them asks, "Is there an exit?" But no one can answer. No one knows where the exit is. As the light of the lanterns grows weaker, the voices lost in the tunnel become more frequent. They decide to move forward to hear the voices of their lost friends, but with each passing minute, the tunnel drags them one step further into a lost place. As they slowly move forward, the walls of the tunnel become narrower, the ceiling lower, and the air heavier. As they slowly move forward, they realize that another friend has also disappeared. These are the depths of the place where lost souls live. The tunnel is pulling them in, the lost souls pushing them one step deeper with each passing moment. As his friends disappear, the presence of what is inside the tunnel begins to be felt more clearly. It is not a period of time nor a place. It is simply a feeling of being lost. By adding more detail to each part of the story, I increase the tension and fear. If you want me to add more details in the style you want, I can expand each part even more. This way, the story becomes longer, more intense, and more suspenseful. As they go deeper into the tunnel, the traces of their lost friends strangely disappear. The symbols that become apparent on the walls and stones attract their attention. These symbols are the secret signs of the old mine workers of the tunnel. According to the stories, the workers who lost their lives in the tunnel left their messages on the walls with these symbols in order to leave a final trace. But these symbols seem like a terrible warning. While a student is trying to solve the secret of the symbols, an echoing sound rises from the depths of the tunnel. This sound resembles the screams of their lost friends, but something is wrong. The sound seems to be directed at them in a way that makes them shiver. "You can't get out of here," says a voice from the depths. No one knows the source of the voice. Silence prevails for a while, but the fear inside everyone grows even more. Despite their hands covering their ears, the echoes of the voice continue to ring in their ears. Another friend's face suddenly freezes. His eyes are darkened as if they are focused on a point but see nothing. As he squints at the walls, another student takes a deep breath and whispers, "Something is watching us. Something is here." But no one wants to confirm it. There is something inside, a being watching them, perhaps the lost souls themselves. As another student continues to examine the symbols on the walls, he realizes that each symbol has a meaning embedded in it. As a worker makes his symbol, it is as if he made a final request, leaving a soul buried in the tunnel and not coming out. The others look at him carefully, but they still sense that something is hidden among the voices. Something is lost in the tunnel. Something lost like them. All those souls buried in the darkness of the tunnel are watching them. The traces of their friends who got lost in the depths of the tunnel strangely disappear. The whole group realizes that the exit is almost lost. The distance between where they set off and here has become endless. Many directions seem like a lost labyrinth. The walls have become tighter, narrower, as if designed to pull them deeper. The density of the air becomes more and more nightmarish. This darkness is like a nightmare that embraces them all. The interior, like a land of the dead, slowly suffocates those who enter the tunnel. With each passing step, the feelings of fear and helplessness become more intense. Someone notices that the air in the tunnel is strange. "This is not a passage. It is a kind of prison," he whispers. Indeed, the tunnel seems to them not just a passageway, but an endless prison. At every turn, there seems to be something blocking the exit. "Everyone is like a lost soul," another murmurs. Nothing inspires confidence anymore. Every step, every corner seems like a danger that is getting closer to them. Strange marks appear on the tunnel walls, old bloodstains like the marks left by the dead. With each step, the atmosphere inside the tunnel becomes thicker. The exit is now visibly gone. This is not just a place. It is a place of death. The spirits inside are pulling them deeper. Another friend notices old writings on the walls. These writings may be the last wishes of the workers who died in the construction of the tunnel. But everything seems like a curse, trapping them inside. The air inside the tunnel had become so heavy and dense that it was impossible to breathe. The humidity, the smell of rust, and the stench of rotting flesh mixed together and burned the students' lungs. Each of them walked without speaking anymore, only shivering. It was as if they took a breath, the darkness would suck that breath away, pushing them into an endless void that would collapse inward. The lights had dimmed. The yellowish light of the lantern cast strange shadows on the cold stones of the tunnel, but these shadows were no longer ordinary. At first, everyone thought it was due to fatigue or fear. But when a student stopped, when he actually stopped, the shadows did not stop with him. His shadow continued to move, his eyes widened. I lost my own shadow," he whispered with a trembling voice. At that moment, a humming noise rose from the walls. Something was moving among the stones of the tunnel. The stones were moving slightly, as if something was being scraped from the inside. When one of them bent down, he saw long fingernail prints, but the prints looked fresh, as if they had been made only minutes ago. Something was living in this tunnel, and it was watching them. Suddenly, a scream rose from behind. When the people in front turned to look, the quietest child in the group seemed to be struggling between the sky and the ground. His eyes were turned upwards, muffled, muddy sounds coming from his throat. His body was shaking, but he seemed to be suspended in the air. Nothing was holding him back. Before his friends could understand what was happening, a force pulled him into the darkness towards the cracks between the tunnel walls. The child disappeared in a few seconds. Only the notebook he had dropped remained behind. It had turned pitch black. Each of the pages was stained with wet, blurry, dried blood. Among the pages, someone had hastily scribbled, "They see me. The walls are breathing. They have no eyes, but they are watching me. Don't turn around." Everyone's breath caught. One started to run, but the tunnel curved towards him. The darkness swallowed the light of the lantern. The glass of the lantern cracked. The light became weak. Only the sounds of his breathing remained. Fast, frightening, like the growls coming from the chest of a monster. There was something inside the tunnel, and now it wanted them. The walls of the tunnel were no longer flat. They were twisting, bending, moving like a living organism. The stones had begun to resemble human faces. When one of them reached out, the block of stone that his fingers touched suddenly vibrated like warm skin. He pulled back, wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The stone took the shape of an eye and winked. Reality was distorting. The minds were dissolving. The first signs of madness were slowly seeping into them. One student began to talk to himself. "They live here. They never died. They just waited. They waited for us. Children of the tunnel." Whispers rose from the walls. Although it was hard to understand what they were hearing, the sounds were very clear. Some sounded like a mother's lullaby, some like a man's scream. One student covered his ears, but the sound still reached his brain. His own name was being whispered, and in a voice from his childhood, the voice of his grandmother, who had died years ago. "Follow me, honey. Come home." Their legs trembled. Everyone stopped at the same time. A light had finally appeared in front of them, a door in the distance, maybe an exit. However, a figure was waiting right in front of the door. It looked like a woman's silhouette. Her hair was long and snow-white. Her face was gone. Instead of a face, there was only a pitch-black void. The woman silently bowed her head and called them with her hand. The light behind her began to flicker. A student began to walk towards her, as if hypnotized. "Stop! Don't come any closer," they shouted. But it was too late. The female figure placed her hand on the student's head, and at that moment the light completely went out. Only the child's scream remained. The sounds of his bones breaking filled the entire tunnel. The others retreated in fear. What they thought was the exit was actually the darkest corner of the tunnel. There were only 3 people left, shaking hands, flashlights about to go out, minds starting to go crazy. The tunnel had taken them into its own dark ritual, turning them into a dream with no exit. As they took steps, the path behind them disappeared. It was as if they had never walked, as if no one had ever walked in the tunnel. Even their starting point had been erased like a dream. There was no sense of time left. Had minutes or hours passed? They didn't know. They were just moving forward. Finally, they came to a passage. In the middle was a round room. In the exact middle of the room was an old rusty table, a map drawn with coal on it, and a notebook with the names of the old miners underneath. But a new line had been written in the notebook, not with ink, with blood. New arrivals, 11 people. Returnees, 0.